Hi everyone, this is Ishika Kesarwani and I welcome you all to the Tech Podcast. Today we are having Haimantika Mitra and she's a developer advocate at Appwrite. We can first start with your introduction.
Hi Ishika, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I'm very excited to be here and to give a brief introduction about myself. Currently, like Ishika mentioned, I'm a developer advocate and Appwrite. And before that, I used to work at Microsoft as a support engineer. I used to support in the Outlook and Exchange on-prem team. And that was my full-time experience, and even before that I have had internship experiences, and that mostly concerned in Power Platform, which we will talk about maybe in the next few minutes, and also in community management. So this is something that I have been involved with for very long time, and currently this is what I really like doing and have turned that passion into a career. That's about me.
That's nice. So you've been working with the community for a very long time and you've been doing so much. So how did you get started with it and what has your contribution been till now towards the community?
Yeah, that's a very personal question, I would say, because the area where I come from, I'm not sure if many of you have heard about. It's a very small city in the northeast of the country, and it's called Siliguri. So, like my place, it is famous for four T's. It's tea, tea, timber, and tourism. And if you're thinking that technology is also one of them, it's definitely not. So there is only one college that teaches you engineering or something with technology, and that is where I did my studies from. So you must be guessing that the environment here is not likely what it might be in other cities where technology is a common word and people actually work or use technology a lot. And being from this place, the only thing that I knew was the traditional course that we were taught, and some of the stereotypical things like these are the questions that you need to practice to get this job. So the typical way that has been going on probably since the invention of this college and the engineering course. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to see what the world of technology has for me, and also a bit of preview that I did not want to do engineering at all. I got my admission in a different college, and I thought that there's a different course that I will pursue. But then life had its course, and as you know, like in India, it's very common to do engineering, so even I chose that. And that is when I thought, now that I'm finally into engineering, I'm sure that this domain has a lot more to offer that what we're actually being told. And with the pursuit of that, I was lucky, though the pandemic has taken a lot of families and lives. But I was lucky in the phase that I could give time to myself during the pandemic, and that is where I got to know about communities. It was just a simple Google search, and I used to be active on LinkedIn. I used to see posts from different people, and they used to post about communities, about meetups. That is when I thought that what are some of the student communities that I can join. And the first thing that came to my mind was the Microsoft student partner program that was named then, but now it's Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program. And that was the first community that I ever joined, and it turned massive for me. So initially when I joined the community, I did not even know how to use Teams. It used to be very complex for me, but I made sure that I'm spending at least 30 minutes of my day knowing what is going on in the communities, going to different channels and seeing what are people talking about, what are people building. And slowly I started attending events. I think that is something that we all must keep in mind, especially students or professionals who are getting started with technology, with communities, that the first step is to attend the events, see what is going on. Similarly, my breakthrough happened by attending one event. So I was attending an event by Donna Sarkar, who is now the director of accessibility in Microsoft, and previously she was in Power Platform. And she was teaching us about Power Platform. She was saying that this is what Power Platform does, and anybody who comes up with an app will get a chance to get mentored by me. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity for me. If I can get a mentor like Donna, I think that will be life changing for me. And I spent the entire night that day reading through the learning Microsoft Learn Docs and making or building an app with Power Platform. And that caught her notice, and then she started mentoring me. this was the start, getting mentored by someone as big as her was something that I wanted at that moment when I was the lowest in my career, or let's say, in the lowest possible mental state at that moment. And then I thought that Power Platform is something that can be my niche. And like every engineering student, what we think is, if I'm learning something, can it get me a job? So I opened another Google search and saw that sadly at that moment there was zero opportunities in Power Platform. But then I thought that since I'm actually liking it, why not give it a try? Something will happen. That time I was very optimistic about, let's see what will happen, and the famous term that goes in Hindi, that jo hoga so dekha jayega. So I just started learning Power Platform, and I used to post my daily learnings on Twitter. At that time I did not know what public learning meant. I think that is a term that got coined very recently. And soon this opportunity actually turned into giving me an opportunity to speak in Microsoft Build in 2020. So that was big, being someone who is very new to the community and getting a chance to speak in Microsoft Build. So that was the start. After that, I started presenting in various conferences, in various events, both in India, outside India, and I started helping women in technology, especially the BAME community. And you must be aware of the term that Lives Matter, and especially in the Black community, I helped many people learn, and also in India. And then I thought that since I know the place I belong from, and it's not only me, there are many women like me, there are many students like me who are looking for an opportunity to learn, who are looking for an opportunity, to learn something. And I also started doing the same with my peers, with my college, juniors and my peers, and also people around me. And that slowly turned into a passion. And even before that, I used to teach in NGOs, so I actually loved teaching. So what I did was, now I was teaching technology to people while I was also learning the same. Slowly and slowly this turned into a passion, and I realized that there is a term called developer advocate. This is an actual job that is actually paying people for their passion. And ever since then, I wanted to become a developer advocate. So life has its own turn, and Microsoft was my dream company. I was very lucky to get a chance to work there. I worked there for close to a year, and now I'm working finally into my dream title and my dream job, where I'm doing something that I'm very passionate about. Sorry for the very long story, but that is me. That is how community shaped me up and my career today.
That's very inspiring, though. I mean, I've seen a lot of people starting their career, especially during the COVID time, even though we didn't
Exactly.
really have anything to do. But then, when you have the zeal inside of you to do something and not to sit idle,
Yeah.
you just go with the flow. And then, if it's meant to be, it will be.
Exactly.
And you obviously achieve the best thing. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you already have a really good experience in the community space. So, what's your opinion on the
Mhm.
career for the students who've been thinking to join community as a career? The
Yeah, I
opportunities.
think it's a definitely. I think it's a great space, and if you go to LinkedIn and search with the term community, you'll see that there are tons of job postings for community managers, or community leads, or technical writers. And then you also know that, like, there are terms which I mentioned, like with the role that I'm working in. There are developer advocates, and there are technology evangelists. There are many terms that are very closely related to the work that people do in communities. So I definitely think that it is very nice opportunity. And a lot of companies are slowly embracing the importance of communities, because if you see, this is a win-win situation for both of us, for the ones who are learning, and also for the communities, or also for the companies, because at the end their products are being used, they are having more users, and us as users, we are learning a new skill, we are getting to meet more people. So I definitely think it is a nice space to look out for. But I would say that different companies have different requirements, and while two roles might be the same, one company's job description might differ from others. So I would say that a student, or career, somebody who is new in career and wants a career shift, is looking to get into this space, I would advise them to look into more pointers that is involved. Let's say in many job postings you will see that code or having coding or software development experience is a must, and other companies might not have this experience as a must. So one might must see in all of these areas and look for what best suits them, and upskill themselves according to such roles, and I'm sure that something good will happen to all of them.
Okay, so I had one question. So, what's
Yeah.
exactly the difference in between community management and developer advocacy?
Okay, I think that's a very nice question that you have asked. So, community managers, that they are managing the community, but when it comes to developer advocates, what we do is we are also managing the community. So, there are three C's. I think you have already heard about them. That is code, content, and community. And generally, a developer advocate does all of these three C's, and they also help in building relationships with developers. So if you see developer advocates or DevRel, the word itself, it has developer relationships. So we are also responsible for building relationships. While community managers are focused only on the community front, developer advocates focus on all of these fronts, and their major role is to build more relationships, to collect feedbacks. They act as a bridge between the product or the company and the developers. But this is something that is a very generalized definition, and the word included might be very different from one company to other, because requirements of one company is very different from the other. Like a startup will have totally different requirements, whereas a big company will have totally different requirements. Though these are the generalized differences between two roles, and this is what is expected from them.
That's a really good explanation. I've seen a lot of people getting confused in between community management, developer advocate.
Yeah.
So, you've also worked at Microsoft as a support engineer, right? So, how has your
Yeah.
experience been working there, the environment, and the people?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say that though it was a very short journey, but I loved my work there, and I loved my, time there. I believe that I could work on all the areas, even though I was not in the role. And like I mentioned, that developer advocacy, creating content, or helping people learn is something that is a passion for me. So even though I was working as a support engineer there, I was helping customers, troubleshoot their problems, solve bugs related to Outlook on Exchange. At the side, I was also working with the cloud advocate team. We were creating different learning paths that will be coming up in the next few months, and I was also helping build code samples. I was also helping in building Power Platform samples and a lot of solutions that will be used internally within Microsoft. I'm sorry that I cannot talk more about them, but this is something that I worked. And the best part about Microsoft is their culture. Everybody is super friendly, and though I worked as a support engineer there, and I was side by side working with other teams, and my manager was very supportive about it. He was like, we love that you are doing so many things. And on the other team front, they did not care about what my role was, as long as I was happy to help them and I was enjoying the work. So definitely, when it comes to culture, the kind of people, and everything, in short, I really loved Microsoft, and I still do. This is something that if anybody comes up to me and says that is Microsoft a good company to work, I would say it's a great company to work, and something, if they get a chance, they should definitely go and join that company and see how the people are there.
Great. Um, you said that you've also used a lot of softwares and tools by Microsoft. So, how has it made your work easier?
Definitely. So I think something that a lot of us, especially student ambassadors, have used is Azure. So a lot of our projects have been built using that. I'll give you one example of where I used Azure, and that actually helped me win in Smart India Hackathon. So we were building a very complex project. It had a lot of ML and AI stuff, and we had to show them the proof of concept in few hours. And like building AI and ML models traditionally would take a lot of many hours, but using the cognitive services and all the ML capabilities that Azure had, it not only helped us in doing the task faster, but it also um, made us research into avenues that we did not know about, and it also helped us improve our cloud knowledge. And if you see that cloud is a nice to have skill or a must have skill in a lot of technical domains, especially if you are in technology, knowing about cloud or working with cloud is definitely an added bonus. So, and especially when it comes to Azure, because Azure is one of the most like leading cloud providers that are being used in the world. So that is about Azure. And next, coming to my favorite tool, that is Power Platform. I think I have mentioned it a lot of times already. So it is a low or no code tool. And like I mentioned, so when I started learning about Power Platform, that time there were no job postings in India. But as I started learning and kept posting about it and kept talking about it, so there are some of the big names in the industry, the companies that I never dreamed I would have got into. They actually reached out to me saying that they are offering me a job and they would love to have me on their team. So, one bonus of learning and using Microsoft technology is a lot of companies are their partners and they use these tools because the tools are obviously very nice and awesome. They do the work that 100 engineers or 1,000 engineers could do. So obviously that is one added bonus. And be it anyway, be it your skills, be it your career, or something that you really enjoy, I think these tools are a great to have skill or something nice to start learning about. And that is all. I think I can go on and on about Microsoft tools and how they have helped me learn, but this is something that I'll always be a big spokesperson for Power Platform, because not only did it help me learn so much and get my first technical internship, but it also shaped me up into a more confident person. Because when I was in the lowest of my career, like I mentioned, that time it was the only tool that I found interest in and I worked in, and I that it helped me shape into a good person or into a more confident person.
That's really nice. You've been through a very long way now, and there've been a lot of things that has happened, and you must have struggled a lot. So, would you
Yeah.
like to give any tips from your end to the listeners of this podcast that you have learned?
Definitely. I think that is a great question that you have asked. And exactly this time last year, that is, I remember the date clearly, 19th of June, is when I underwent a surgery. It was a small one, like my gallbladder had to be removed because it had developed stones. And though it was a small surgery, but later I had developed a lot of complications, and I was not only suffering physically, but that also got a huge mental impact, because you wouldn't believe that. Even while I'm describing it, I'm having goosebumps. So I used to lay down in the bed and I used to think about having fever, and I actually used to have fever. So I was in the lowest moment that time last year, and the last 6 months of the year were the worst for me. And during this time, I could neither learn something new, nor could I go and speak in any events, nor could I get involved in community events, even though that was something that I really enjoyed and I gave some time, even if I was very tired. But staying aloof from all of these, it made me feel worse. But that time I was not in the best of my health, both mental and physical, to do any of it. So what I mean by this is that there might be a part of your life when you are at your lowest, and it is completely fine to take break. People would say that it's okay to take a break for a few days, but I took a break for 6 months. So I think that is half of the year. Even after that, people still recognize my work, and it's glad that I could make a comeback to it's nice that I could make a comeback to the communities. So what I would say that communities, your career, and everything can wait, but please focus on your health, both mental and physical. And I cannot emphasize enough on how mental and physical health both are equally important. So I would say everybody to focus on both of these, and once you find or think that you are in the best of your times, or let's say you are good to work, only then you should go ahead and work. And this is one. And the other thing is, I receive a lot of questions from people, especially college students, saying that I'm not getting enough time to switch between my college studies and between communities. I would say that this is something that communities shouldn't be a pressure on you. This should, this should come naturally. If you are bored and you must be checking your phone all the time, checking social media, so put this in your routine where you're checking Teams or Discord or Slack. So this is something that shouldn't be pressurized on you. And community is something that people do out of passion, out of love, or it is something that is meant to unite like-minded people. So I would say that community is not for everyone. Like, I have my friends who are doing great in their career and they have never been into communities. This is something that they don't enjoy. So if you're someone like them, then just don't get involved just because your peers or your friends are doing it. So these are my two advices for everybody. First is to take care of yourself, take enough breaks, and be or do or work only when you are ready. And the second is get involved in communities if you feel that it is the right thing for you.
That is so true. Like nowadays, people don't really look up for their health, and it's just not that, but also mental health,
Yeah,
because that should be
exactly.
your first priority. And also about communities, obviously, communities is not something that you can force to do. And if you have the zeal, if you have the passion, you will automatically
Yeah,
take out time for that.
exactly.
So on that note, we can end today's session. Thank you so much, Haimantika, for joining us and inspiring us all with your story, your journey. And
It's a pleasure.
that's it. That's it. And to all the listeners, stay tuned because we're going to come up with a lot more videos like this. Thank you for joining. Have a great day. Bye bye.